when people say you're crazy, that is the exact reason why I do it. It's
Mm.
because most people won't.
Mm.
So I'm willing to put myself out there, and some, like, I'm not a top age group. I'm not a professional, nothing. But it's something that other people won't do. And that's what drives me to do it, is
Mm-hmm.
that nobody is going to put the discipline in.
Today on Powered by People, I'm sitting down with Brandon Haskins, a mortgage agent. Brandon is passionate about helping people navigate the mortgage process, making sure they feel informed and confident in their decisions. With access to a wide range of lenders, he works hard to find the right solutions for each client's unique financial goals. Outside of work, Brandon is all about family. He's a husband, a dad to 2 kids, and they love spending time together, swimming, biking, and traveling. He's also no stranger to competition. While he's a retired triathlete, I want to ask about that, he's still pushing limits as a Hyrox weekend warrior. I'm excited to dive into his journey, his approach to mortgages, and how he brings that same drive and determination from sports into his business. Let's get into it. Welcome, Brandon.
Thank you.
How was that? How accurate?
It was
Did I get anything
perfect.
wrong? Okay.
Retired triathlete is, it's funny, I actually said that when we were flying home from Vegas,
Did
about
you?
how much I'm into Hyrox and
Yes.
how I am a Hyrox athlete and a retired triathlete.
Oh, okay. I want to go there right away because it is to some degree a shared passion.
Yeah,
So I've only done one triathlon. I did
yeah,
a half Ironman or an Ironman 70.3, if I'm saying it
yep,
properly,
yep.
for my 50th birthday. That was just
That's
to
amazing.
prove to myself that I could.
Yep,
But I am definitely, and I've done one official high rocks and then a sprint.
yep.
But I want to hear about okay, your recent experience. Let's start there. You just
Yeah.
got back from Vegas. Tell me about it.
Yeah. Today's day 2 back. Time change, I didn't think would affect me, but I struggled to get that time change going to Vegas. So,
Okay.
wearing my Whoop, like 1% recovery the day of travel. Next day was 11%.
Mm.
And then I got into like the low 30s.
Hmm.
And the night,
Explain Whoop to people that might not be familiar with it before you
yeah, so
continue.
Whoop will track your sleeping habits. Um, I'm kind of the joke of the LP community because I eat in the middle of the night, so my sleep quality is never very good.
Mm. Hmm.
So I wake up usually around 2 o'clock in the morning and will eat a full meal.
No
Yeah,
way.
so
Okay.
it really affects my sleep. So it checks your sleep with relation to how much you're working out during the day, daily stress, all those
Mm.
factors that go into your recovery. And then the next morning,
Mm.
it tells you your recovery score and what kind of targets to hit for
Mm.
your workouts for the day.
Yeah. Where are you wearing this?
Uh, it's on
How is it
it,
reading it?
it's on your wrist.
Okay.
So there's a
Yeah.
sensor
Hmm.
right underneath it. There's a little green light, goes on your wrist. You wear it 24/7,
Okay.
and it just basically tracks your day and how you kind of handle stress and
Mm.
your workouts. So,
Hmm.
being in the real estate industry, there's a little bit of stress for us to get through during our day. Yeah.
I don't know if I want to know. This is the
Yeah.
thing, right? I
Yeah.
think it might make me stressed.
Yeah, absolutely. It is scary to look on that sometimes and see,
Yeah.
like, especially days where you don't work out and it says, "Oh, you've spent 2 hours in the high stress zone," and you look back at
Oh.
your work day and it's like, "Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, I dealt with a challenging deal that day, so that totally makes
Mm.
sense."
Hmm. Hmm. Okay, so you wore this. You fly. You're changing. You got jet lag,
Yes, big time.
and
And
it's showing you're not recovering.
I
Okay.
didn't think I was going to. And then the night before the race, who goes to Vegas and every night we're in bed by 8:30, 9 o'clock trying to get some sort of decent sleep in, and then you wake up at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning Vegas time, and
Mm.
that's a regular day. That's like regular wake up time back home. So
Hmm.
the night before the race, we got to bed pretty early, and I got into the green recovery, which was
Mm.
exactly what I needed since I was
Okay.
racing kind of first thing in the morning. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, got to the race. We got there super early. And I don't generally get nervous before races because I'm not racing for a podium or a world
Mm-hmm.
champions. I'm there to race against myself and prove to myself that
Mm-hmm.
I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
But for whatever reason, I was so nervous. I had like butterflies in my stomach and I couldn't shake the feeling. And I think a lot of it, it's
Mm-hmm.
like it costs a lot of money to
Yeah.
travel
Yep.
to do these
Mm-hmm.
races. A lot of sacrifice goes into it. So it's just like
Yeah.
everything kind of built up to that moment and you're finally there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but once you get into that like starting shoot where everyone lines up and
Yeah.
they take you through um, some breathing exercises and um, different kind of things to motivate you and pump you up, and then all that adrenaline dump happens and all the butterflies
Mm-hmm.
go, and then you're
Mm-hmm.
off to the race.
Yeah, yeah. So just I'm filling in for people who don't know. They should just look up Hyrox. It is really interesting. But
Yeah,
it's 1 kilometer followed by some type of a station, a rowing machine, a ski machine, burpee broad jumps,
yeah,
farmer carry, a series of stations. But between each is a 1 kilometer run. So it's kind of doing like a long sprint
yeah, it is.
because your heart rate
It's
tends to be
jacked.
quite elevated the
Yeah,
entire time. So,
yeah,
at minimum, you're doing 8 kilometers plus a series of all of these other high intensity exercises.
yeah.
So, for people who don't know, so this was your second one.
Second
You did
one.
you did
Yeah,
Toronto
I did Toronto.
in the fall.
Yeah, I was hurt for Toronto, so I didn't really have. I had a really good training block leading up to it, and I put on a sweater a little bit funny, pinched a nerve in my neck about
Oh,
3 weeks out from the race.
hmm.
So I spent basically 3 weeks in bed, no training, no moving, nothing. Couldn't
Oh
move my
my
head, couldn't turn my
gosh.
head, nothing.
Yeah.
And I made the decision that because we had a lot of people from our community that were racing. I think we had 50 plus people racing. So I wanted to go. I wanted to watch and
Yeah.
cheer everybody on.
Hmm.
But I ended up packing my bag with my race gear the night before.
Hmm.
I'm laying in bed. And my wife goes, "What's in your backpack?" I was like, "Just food, drinks for the day."
Uh-huh.
She's like, "Is your race gear in there?" I said, "Absolutely, it is." But I had no intention of racing.
Yeah.
So you get into the event, and it's the first time, a lot of us have seen that event. It was the first race in Canada. And the atmosphere is so
Electric.
overwhelming. Yeah, electric,
Yeah.
overwhelming.
Hmm.
It's unbelievable.
Hmm.
And it was maybe about 20 minutes before my heat started. Ran over, checked in, went out to the car. I did like a 2 second run to the truck to get my
Mm.
race gear. And I was like, oh, my neck is killing me. I can't move my shoulder. Still have the pinched nerve in my neck.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I'm here. I'll just start. I'll just start,
Mm.
see how it feels. And then I ended up doing the whole race. And nobody knew I was racing because everyone thought I'm just here to watch. So that
Yeah.
was a tough part because nobody really realized
Ah.
that I was actually in the race until
Mm.
maybe the sixth station of the
So
race.
you
So that
didn't
was hard.
have people
I
like
had
cheering
no
you
one. Yeah,
on.
I had no one.
Yeah.
No one
Wow.
motivating me at all. So
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
just one of those things where I was like, I just want to start to say I started.
Yeah.
But I have a weird rule: once you start a race, you never quit a race. So
Mm.
I was
Mm.
in it at that point. So I struggled through it. It was super painful, especially when I got to the last station. Those wall balls, you're looking up, you're throwing a 6 kilogram wall ball above your head, and you can't
Yeah.
turn your head
Yeah. Your
left or
neck is
right.
like
Yeah,
this. Yeah. Hmm.
exactly. So struggled through it. I got it done, but Vegas I wanted to use as my first race, my first benchmark race
Okay.
to kind of
Mm.
set that bar. So
Hmm.
we had a small group, but a really fun group to train with. And
Hmm.
um, I've never been to Vegas, so that was fun. And
Hmm.
it's always fun traveling for races. Never
Yeah.
done one with a time change, so that was a new aspect that I didn't really plan for. But yeah, it was a great experience.
Are you pleased with your results? Happy
I
with
am.
how you did?
I missed my A goal, which was a very long stretch. So I'm okay with
Mm-hmm.
that. But I was happy with the race. I
Mm-hmm.
actually ended up blowing out one of my hamstrings during the race, and I think it was on the sled
Good.
push
Mm.
aspect, which is the second station. But I didn't feel it at that time.
Mm-hmm.
The sleds were a lot heavier. I got a really bad lane where the carpet was kind of bunching. So yeah,
Same in
yeah,
Toronto. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So I was right
Mm.
on the edge of a carpet, and it was all bunched up.
Mm.
Even though it was kind of early in the day, it was the second day of competition,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think they went back and fixed anything. So I really
Yeah.
struggled on that sled push, and I think that's where I kind of tweaked that
Mm.
hamstring. And then over the course of the race, um, I didn't notice it until I got to the sandbag lunges, which is the seventh station, and I
Mm-hmm.
did a couple on that right leg, and I thought, okay, if I go down one more time for a lunge, I'm not getting back up. So I ended up
Yeah.
doing single leg sandbag lunges for 90%
Wow.
of the distance.
So
Yeah.
like leading with the one leg going down
Yep.
and continuing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So there will be people that just think, and I'm sure you meet them and talk to them, that just think you're crazy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So how do you explain why you do this? And triathletes, same, like
Same
you.
thing. Yeah.
So
And
it's a bit crazy for
yeah.
people who are not into these kind of things. So try to explain the attraction, the appeal
Yeah.
to go into something that you're choosing to suffer.
Yeah. Well, you said it. When or most people won't put the discipline in and think, "Oh, I can never do that." I didn't think I could do it either. When I
Yeah.
got into this
Mm-hmm.
whole space, I mean, I've played sports growing up, um, went to the gym a lot, but never did a running race. Never did
Mm-hmm.
a. I mean, the first time I ran a half marathon was in a 70.3 Ironman, and the first time I ran a marathon was in a full Ironman. So I didn't have
Mm-hmm.
those building blocks from my childhood growing
Yeah.
up. It
Mm-hmm.
was just a crazy idea. I got pretty overweight and made really bad healthy choices. I mean, I still kind of do, but it was a lot worse. So when I stopped playing organized sports and you're eating McDonald's and fast food and you're in the real estate world and you're on the
Mm-hmm.
go, and it's so much easier to just stop and pick up lunch from somewhere instead of,
Yeah.
packing a healthy lunch.
Mm-hmm.
I got overweight and I decided I needed a change, and I found this sport called triathlons, and it was interesting to me because it wasn't big. It's not like there's a lot of coverage on TV over it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was actually at a wedding for a friend, and there was another gentleman there who's actually one of our endurance coaches now. And I, was at a wedding. I had a little bit too much to drink, and he was like, "Oh, you should try it if you've got a little bit of an inkling to try it,
Yeah.
just do it." So that night, I decided I was going to start training for my first triathlon, and you know,
Wow.
a
On a whim.
little bit of liquid courage to get you going.
Uh-huh.
And the next day I signed up. It was a different triathlon team at the time, and I just signed up. No experience, no nothing. Didn't really know what to expect. And you go out and you spend a couple $1,000s on a new bike and running
Right.
shoes and all the tech that goes
Yeah.
into it. And then you
Yeah.
show up to your first practice and you get humbled instantly.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is the kind of the learning or the overlap between those endurance type or intense sports
Yeah.
and your business,
Yeah.
your work?
So there's two ways that I look at it. So the first one is we deal with a lot of stressful situations, especially on the financial side.
Hmm.
You're going through people's closets, you're finding their skeletons. That stuff weighs very heavily on me. I carry a
Hmm.
lot of that stress around people's financial situations because I
Hmm.
care. And
Hmm.
And I want them to get into a better position. I want them to be able to buy a house, and I don't want them to be kind of behind the eight ball,
Mm-hmm.
whether they're 20 years old coming out of college, or they're 65 and they're ready to retire and they've got all this debt. I wear that stress quite heavily. So running and working out for these crazy fitness competitions is a way for me to keep my mind completely clear.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a stress relief for me to kind of let some of that stress go, so I don't wear it at home with the family and the kids,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of take some of that stuff out on them.
Yeah.
So that's the main reason why I kill myself at the gym, is because if I don't, my mind starts going with some of the situations that I deal with on a daily basis.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
other aspect is, it's challenging. It's a giant puzzle, and you got to figure out the puzzle pieces that work with training. With It's not just go to the gym and work out and show up to the race. There's your recovery. There's your eating and nutrition. There's your time management of balancing a business, a
Mm.
family, um, a heavy training schedule, and having those goals that you set up and trying to figure out those puzzle pieces relays back to work when you're dealing with a tough situation, when you're trying to underwrite
Mm.
and figure it out. Um, every day is a different challenge, and whether you're at work or in the gym. So having something else that also drives my mind of how am I going to move forward in my progression of either training or with a client, it rolls hand in hand,
Mm-hmm.
to kind of build that mental space and mental toughness for dealing with the situations.
Yeah. Yeah. So it sounds like you believe and experience that what you do in your physical fitness and at the gym helps you be a better
Yeah,
mortgage agent.
yeah, exactly. It helps me keep my mind clear when I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to go through people's situations.
Yeah, yeah. I know a lot of times I use working out in exactly the same way. There's the social aspect also, which is
Yeah,
great.
yeah,
Connecting with people, there's a really good vibe, there's a good energy. But when I'm in a really stressful situation, similar to you, I say I have too much empathy to be
yeah,
a realtor.
yeah,
I care too much. And yeah, so it does bring on some stress.
yeah,
Um, Sometimes at the gym, I can feel it like burning off.
yeah, yeah.
It's like as you sweat, you like sweat some of it out, you
Yeah,
know?
and then
Yeah.
after the workouts, like I'm at the gym midday because it breaks up my day. Um, I'm too tired to or dwell on situations.
Mm,
I just don't have the capacity to dwell on those situations because I just put in a hard hour and a half workout, or
sure.
right. I don't
Yeah.
just you just keep it moving at that point, which makes things a little
Hmm.
bit easier.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell me about your journey to get into mortgages. Like, let's start with actually, what did you want
Yeah.
to be when you were a little boy? What did you want to be?
So it's funny. It has nothing to do with the financial industry.
Okay. Yeah.
I wanted to be a police officer.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that's what I want. I was destined to be a cop. I have nobody in my family who's a first responder, anything like that.
Huh.
Um, but I love the action of policing and helping people. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I still get to help people now. It's just in a little bit different of a situation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I moved back and forth from the States a lot growing up. Um, you see a lot more police action down in the
Mm-hmm.
States than you do up
Sure.
here, although it's starting to get bad up here. But policing was what I wanted to do. And I took accounting in college, and I was working at the bank. And I knew I
Which bank?
needed TD.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew I needed some life experience. So I that's what I went with, was kind
Mm-hmm.
of that financial industry. And then right before I graduated, I got offered a job in the mortgage industry, which I took. And
At the bank?
no,
Oh,
outside
not
of
at
the
the bank.
bank. Yeah.
Outside the bank.
The
Okay.
bank was going to be my path
Mm-hmm.
that I
Yeah.
was going to kind of stick to. Um, but I got introduced into this mortgage world, and it seemed interesting
Okay.
and
Yeah.
fascinating. And
Yeah. Yeah.
so I got into it. And then I decided that, working for a smaller mortgage shop wasn't the best life experience if I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
become a police officer. So I ended up leaving the mortgage industry, went into the insurance world for a little bit, bigger company, more
Mm-hmm.
structured, 9 to 5, as I started to kind of pursue policing, and didn't get very far in policing, which was interesting, but nonetheless, everything happens for a reason. And then I had called up who is my mentor now, and I called her up and said, I hate my 9 to 5. I hate sitting at this desk doing the same thing day
Mm-hmm.
after day after day. Um, and for what? I'm just another employee at a
Mm-hmm.
big corporation. When our first child was born, when Eli was born, I think it was the next day I was back in the office working.
Mm, yeah.
For what?
Yeah.
So I knew I needed a change at that point, and mortgages was the only business that I really knew that I could get into and create something. So when I called her up and said, "Look, I'm sick of my 9 to 5. I can't sit at this desk. I feel like I'm chained to this cubicle. Um,
Mm-hmm.
will you take me back under your wing?" And she said, "Absolutely." And here we are 5, 6 years later. She's still my mentor. I still work with her. We make every decision together. We've gone to another mortgage brokerage,
Mm-hmm.
and it was more important for me to stay with her than
Okay.
separate, because in
Mm-hmm.
this business, if you don't have a mentor or somebody that you're loyal to and can trust,
Mm-hmm.
it's too hard to fly by yourself. So um,
Mm-hmm.
I got into the business with her, and haven't really looked back since.
How do you choose, or what do you consider when making a move between different kind of mortgage companies?
Yeah, different aspects. I mean, no one's perfect in their business. There's always some aspect of your business that's missing.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're able to find a brokerage that can kind of fill that role um, in your business that you're missing, then generally it can be a good fit to make a
Mm-hmm.
change. In terms of like lenders that we use and stuff like that, nothing really changes brokerage
Okay.
to brokerage. It's all the
Very
same.
similar.
It's all the
Mm-hmm.
same.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of where are you getting your guidance from head office and your head broker, and what are they doing to kind of help improve your business.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we made the choice to switch to a new brokerage,
Yeah.
really jump out of our comfort zone on some stuff that her and I aren't very strong at, mostly social media. Um, and it didn't work out, so
Mm-hmm.
we went back to the old brokerage that we were at before,
Okay.
back to doing
Mm-hmm.
it the way that we're comfortable and we know that works. And
Yeah. Yeah. And
sometimes
so
you
are
got to
you
try new
happy?
things. Yeah,
Are you
yeah, yeah,
happy with
yeah,
your current situation?
yeah, for
Awesome.
sure.
So, as you've already alluded to, like the mortgage process for on the client side can be very overwhelming. And I know
Yeah,
from my experience, I actually, yeah, I don't have a great relationship with money. Like
yeah,
it's stressful to me,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So I find the process, yeah, when you talk about going into like that's what it feels like. It
yeah,
feels sort of invasive. I'm not
absolutely.
blaming the
Yeah,
person. They're
yeah,
trying to help me,
yeah,
but it feels like that. So, what's your approach with people to make it kind of simpler and less stressful as
yeah.
much as is within your control?
Yeah. So, I mean, my core client base are all young, first time home buyers who are coming out of school that really don't have any guidance at all. I
Mm,
bought my
hmm
first house with my wife when I was 23.
Yeah, that's
And
young to start.
yeah, and I was in the mortgage industry at the time, and like I still had no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
And I worked in it every single day, worked in a different aspect of mortgages, but still had the knowledge. I was licensed at the time, wasn't doing deals because I didn't understand it at all.
hmm Yeah.
So knowing that there was such a large gap between what we learn in school versus real life,
Mm-hmm.
and probably the biggest transaction most people will make in their entire life. There's no
Yeah,
education around it. So a
true.
lot of my initial call is not so much what's your income, what are you trying to buy? It's understanding their financial situation, but also having them understand what the process is to
Mm.
make them feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I mean, it can be invasive, like you said, but we have to uncover every skeleton because we don't want those
Yes,
things popping up in the 11th hour after they've
sure.
purchased a house and they're firm on it.
Yeah.
So, the educational approach to it puts them at ease. It puts me
Mm-hmm.
at ease because now they're up to speed. um, I mean, I've worked on a course, actually have a course built, like a first time homebuyers course, not
Hmm.
like one of those ones where you go and you sit down and like a full online, super basic, here's the things that you need to think about, here's how you get your bank statements, here's how you,
Yeah,
like, here's
yeah.
what you need to do when you're getting your deposit ready, like super simple things like that, um, that first time homebuyers have no idea how to do.
That's a really great point because once we know how to do something, we forget
Right.
that there's people that don't even know how to do that. Yeah,
Exactly. So, I mean,
yeah.
it's easy. I mean, I have the same conversation 100
Mm-hmm.
times over and over again, but it's easy to remind myself that I know it because I do it every day.
Yep.
These people don't, because this is the one and only time they're going to do
Mm-hmm.
it. And they're not going to think about it for another 5 years
Mm-hmm.
or
Yeah.
until they buy another house. So, coming from that educational standpoint, it helps put them at ease, which also allows them to open up and feel a little bit more comfortable when they're sharing some of their,
Mm-hmm.
credit cards that they ran up in
Sure.
university and missed payments
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. So, if I can put them at ease through vacation or through education,
Yep.
then the whole transaction becomes a vacation.
Mm. Oh, that feels great. Yeah.
Yeah.
That reminds me when I go for some type of a medical procedure, any type,
Yeah.
and they do say, we're going to do this and then we're going to do this. And even warning, like, okay, little pinch, like all of that is so helpful
Yeah. Yeah.
because you're not taken by surprise,
Right. They
right?
don't know what's coming next.
Yeah, yeah. So I can see that that would have a calming effect. Sometimes we think, oh, we don't want them to know everything, but
Right.
that's not true. It actually
Yeah.
is sort of counterintuitive that
Right.
knowing everything is somewhat calming.
Yeah, and I try and, like, obviously I don't share names, but I try and, if I can see a transaction going a certain way or spending habits, I'll share stories of other people
Mm,
that I've dealt with in the past to put their mind at ease that,
mm.
like, you're not the only one that has a
Yeah,
$5,000 credit card that's maxed out
yeah.
that you can't pay. Like, I've seen every situation, even from my time in the banking industry.
Hmm.
Through mortgages, I've seen it all.
Hmm.
Like, I'm not judging you because, like, I'm totally turned, like, off to financial
Mm.
situations. It's just like it's
Yeah,
another problem that we have to solve, no big deal, and we'll solve it. um, but people don't, I mean, when you think that you're the only one in the world that has a little bit of debt, which is not true.
yeah, yeah. Yep. I've experienced that personally, right?
Yeah.
Been in situations and you do believe you're the only one,
Yeah.
and you feel a lot of shame.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so
And
to have,
judge. And
and
judge.
judgment.
Yeah.
And so to be in that type of situation and have a professional and have them not judge you for those things
Right.
I don't know how to describe it. It's a gift.
Yeah.
So when
Right.
you're doing that, when you're listening and when you're helping and when you're normalizing
Yeah.
their experience,
I'll share.
that's a gift.
I'll share personal experiences too. Like, I'm not afraid
Mm-hmm.
to. Like, we've all gone through something financially
Mm-hmm.
in our life. Like, I'm not ashamed now to talk about those things. So when you can get, I'm not on a higher pedestal than my client. We're on the same level. So
Mm-hmm.
if I can show you that, I'm a human too. I'm not a robot that just cranks out mortgages. Like, I do have a life
Mm-hmm.
outside of transactions, and
Sure.
it's real life. Things
Yeah.
happen, right?
Yeah. Oh, no, that's so helpful. Can you share a client success story where you were able to make a difference in someone's home buying journey?
Yeah, I mean, I get to do that every time I have a first time home buyer that gets into their first house. But
Hmm.
I mean,
Is there one that stands out to you? Like, you don't have to use names, but like a
yeah, yeah,
situation that you felt particularly happy about?
yeah. I mean, I have where I find more rewarding too is some of the older clients who are retired.
Hmm.
Um, changing that narrative, the dirty word of reverse mortgages. Um, there are certain situations where those types of mortgage products in our industry um, can help somebody stay in their home long term.
Mm.
They don't want to move to a nursing home or long
Yeah.
term care facility. They want to be in their home. Um, but unfortunately, sometimes people still have mortgages to pay on that, or the cost of living to stay in your home is expensive. So I had
Hmm.
one client who um, her mortgage was coming up for renewal. They had a cottage. She was drowning. She had lost her husband a couple of years ago, but that cottage was important for her to keep because that cottage her husband built. So she wanted to hold on to that as a memory for her for the remainder of her life. Um, and we couldn't do a traditional mortgage. She was retired. She was on a fixed income,
Hmm.
and we used a reverse mortgage to be able to kind of help with some of her monthly bills and upkeep of that cottage. And she now is able to carry that cottage and keep that cottage
Mm.
until you know the day that she goes, or have
Amazing.
still be able to keep that, to pass that on for future generations, to
Mm.
keep both of their memories ongoing. So
Yeah.
scenarios like that are super special to me,
Hmm.
when you can have a client hold on to a piece of property that's more than just a piece of property to them.
Hmm.
So those situations they're few and far between, but those ones are really special
Hmm. Carry
to
those
me.
with you.
Yeah, yeah,
Can you give a really high level explanation of a reverse mortgage?
yeah. So reverse mortgage. There's a couple companies in Canada that will uh, either give you a large sum of money based off of the equity that you have in your house, based off of your age, not your income.
Mm.
So you can either take a full lump sum payment right up front. You can have it so it pays you, instead of you making a mortgage payment for $1,500 a month, it will actually deposit $1,500 a month into your bank account. So maybe if you've worked all your life, you've owned a home for so many years, there's no mortgage on it, but your retirement savings isn't very high because
Uh-huh.
you've dumped everything into that house. It's another retirement vehicle to use, where your mortgage is actually paying you instead of you paying your mortgage.
Doesn't that
Um,
sound delightful? Can we
it
get all
does,
of our
yeah,
payments to do that for us?
yeah.
Utilities?
Right. And like there's misconceptions that the banks own your house. That's not true at all. It's just like having a regular mortgage. It's just going the other way. It's paying you instead of you paying it. Um, I mean, there's higher interest rates on it. There's higher cost for sure.
Hmm.
Um, but it's all based off of your age, not your income.
Hmm.
So people who
Hmm.
want to stay in their house and they don't want to go into those long-term retirement homes, it's a way for them to stay in their house.
Mm. Yeah, it's great. In every situation that you deal with, every single one is
Yeah,
unique, isn't it?
right, right. And
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
I take it a step further and I make sure that the kids, the next generation, know that that kind of product is going on. I mean,
Hmm.
there's cost to it. There's definitely higher interest rates. um so it's important for the next generation to know that mom and dad have a product like this,
Hmm.
because they're going to have to deal with it eventually. And having those surprises of what's this mortgage, we don't know anything about it. Those are calls that I never want to get. So making sure that
Yeah.
everyone's on the same page and estate planning is all in line with
Hmm.
products like that are important too.
So education is important to you throughout
Hmm.
your business. What do you wish that all clients or home buyers knew before they even come to you?
I wish there was more in, whether it's in high school. I mean, it's probably a little bit tough in university and college, but just like the basic understanding of how your income works, how your
Mm-hmm.
bank works, how to get money out of your bank,
Mm.
and how that $1,000 credit card that you get out of high school can really either
Uh-huh.
exponentially help you in 4 years
Yeah.
from now, or
Yeah.
absolutely crumble you in 4 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
So like just like the basics of how credit works and how your credit score can be impacted, and what happens when you miss a mortgage or a credit card payment, and how that will
Mm-hmm.
affect you applying for a mortgage down the road.
Yeah.
It's just simple life skills that we don't get. How do you invest your
Mm-hmm.
money? Where do you go to invest your money? What
Yeah.
platforms do you use? Do you go to the bank? Do you use something like Wealthsimple? Just basic knowledge
Mm-hmm.
of how the financial and banking world works.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy that we don't have more of that in our
Yeah,
education system,
right,
right?
right.
That, I mean, it used to be that this isn't really a thing anymore, but that people didn't even know how to write a check, right? Like,
Yeah,
how do
yeah,
you write a check? What
right.
information goes where?
Yeah,
Things like that. And you
yeah,
think, how can we get to a stage of life where you're doing that and you don't know the
right.
basics? So, how will you, have you thought about how you're going to educate your children as
Yeah,
they get older?
yeah. It's hard now since they're still young. You don't really
Uh
know
huh.
what will work for them.
It's true.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
my kids are a little bit spoiled, so I'm not doing a very good job at the age of 3 and 6 to
Yeah.
instill some of those values.
Mm.
But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we talk to our kids even. We constantly ask our kids what do mom and dad do? Because my wife is also a mortgage agent now. She got
Oh,
into
I did
this.
not know that.
Yeah, she
Okay.
got into this
Yeah.
world about 2 or 3 years ago. 3 years
Mm-hmm.
ago, right out of mat leave. Um, she was going to make the decision to go back to work when she was coming off mat leave, and I said, why don't we take the 18-month mat leave? Let's just try for 6 months to see if we can work together
Mm-hmm.
and do this. And we use that 6 month as a trial period.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and she loved it too. So she made the jump over to this world as well. So
Yeah.
we constantly ask our kids, what do mom and dad do? And
And
he says, you sell money to help people buy a house. So they're already getting that kind of
mm,
exposure of how do you, like, yes, they live in a nice house in a nice neighborhood and a nice city, but
mm-hmm.
like how do you get that?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll tell you something that I tried this year with my grandson. So I used to, even when my kids were young, do things like instead of going out, if I was going to get them a treat and just buying it,
Yeah,
I would give them a budget. So
right.
I'd say you have $5, right?
Yeah,
So whether it was even at McDonald's, I did it there and I'd say, okay, you have $5 to spend. Because otherwise they say, I want this and this
yeah,
and this, and they don't get it, right?
yeah,
So just even understand the value of money. So this year for my grandson's birthday, I took him shopping. This was part of our arrangement. And I brought Monopoly money.
nice. Yeah,
Okay. I gave him Monopoly money and I said, you look at things, you point them out to me, and I'm going to show you how much of this it takes to get that.
right.
And you're going to give it to me. Like I'm going to
Yeah,
pay, obviously, when
yeah,
we,
yeah,
well, we could see if Walmart takes Monopoly money.
yeah.
But
It would be nice.
okay, it's fascinating because the very first thing he picked was like $30. I was giving him $50, right?
Yeah,
Was $30. So I showed him and I had a variety, like I had some 20s, 10s,
yeah,
5s, ones, right? I counted it out to show him and he said, "No, we're going to keep looking."
yeah.
And right away I went, "Wow,
Too
the
much of the
fact
pile.
too much of the pile, even if that's kind of all he's getting."
Yeah,
And he did ask for a number of things, every single thing I showed him. And he finally decided. And I thought, I mean, it's a small step,
yeah,
but it's starting to think about there's, a value for
right,
this. And how
right.
can I think about that
And it's
rather
different.
than,
it's different these days with credit cards, right? Like you don't
Yeah,
actually have that cash in your hand to
I
decide
know.
how much of that pile does that item really cost.
I
You
know.
just tap your phone. Now you don't even carry I don't carry a wallet at all. I just tap my
Yeah.
phone.
Yeah.
It's too easy these days. Um
Yeah,
and
maybe we as adults we need to go back to the
yeah,
whole cash and
yeah,
counting the
right.
counting the pile.
Yeah.
Oh. All right. Let's see. Oh, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received, either in business or in life? Or
Uh,
one of the best?
yeah. Um Not so much like direct advice, but guidance, like mentorship in anything you do,
Mm,
will help you get to your goal a lot faster. Without any kind of mentors,
mm,
uh, you're never gonna make it on your own.
mm,
So, any time I start something new, whether it's triathlons, Hyrox, business, doing something different in business, if I don't have a mentor set up who's already doing those things that I want to achieve, um, eventually you'll get there, but you're going to
yeah.
stumble a lot more and it's going to take you a lot more time to get there. So,
Yeah.
um, one thing I would say is never try something new without some sort of mentor.
Hmm. Yeah, that's really good. I'm thinking about the layers of that because it's not even just about the education piece that they,
Yeah.
probably have more experience, but it's the support,
Yeah.
the um, even the calling you out on things. Like if
Yeah.
you're not doing something well,
Right.
or
Yeah.
somebody being able to speak into those areas of your life for
Yeah, it
your own
helps. Yeah,
improvement.
it helps keep you
Hmm.
focused, and it
Hmm.
also gives you a target to shoot for.
Yeah. No, you're right. As someone who's clearly motivated and disciplined with the sports that you choose,
Hmm.
what are some daily habits or routines that keep you performing at your best?
A lot of coffee and a lot of energy drinks.
Yeah. Are
Yeah,
you living off of caffeine?
I am living off of caffeine. That
Okay.
a little bit too much,
Mm-hmm.
as some people would say. Um, but I mean, it takes a lot to bounce between kids and
Mm-hmm.
business and still getting in a good workout. So caffeine is key for me.
Caffeine is key.
Yeah.
Do you have any routines? Like, do you journal? Do you? I mean, you do your workouts. Is there anything else kind of that's part of your semi-regular routine?
I yes, it's embarrassing to say, but I love watching trashy TV.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like Cops, Jersey Shore, like
Mm-hmm.
stupid shows like that.
Yeah.
Any kind of stand-up comedy. Um, at the end of the day, just like a
Brainless.
brainless TV to kind
Mm-hmm.
of turn
Yep.
it off,
Uh-huh.
reset myself, and allow me to kind of go to sleep without trying to think about what happened in the day.
Yep.
It's just
Yep.
like mindless, numbing TV
Yes.
that
Yes.
kind of resets yourself, go to bed, and start out all over
Yeah.
the
I'm
next
into
day.
Schitt's Creek again right now.
Yeah,
That's my
yeah,
just kind of goofy,
yeah,
yeah. Because if I start problem solving anytime near bedtime,
yeah,
then I'm not going to sleep.
yeah,
My mind is going to stay in. But if I can pull it away
yeah.
into something
I don't want to
goofy,
watch a show and have to think, because I've
right?
done that for the last 12
Mm-hmm.
hours. I just
Sure.
need something to reset.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, before I go into, I have some rapid fire questions.
Yep.
If you're up for it.
Yep.
Oh, actually, I have another one I'm going to ask you before the rapid fire. But if people are watching, listening, and they are either going to be looking for a house, they're going to need financing. They're going to
Yep.
need, to renew their mortgage, or get approval or
Hmm.
pre-qualification. What do you want to say to them?
I would say do your research. Don't just rely on one bank. Going to a broker, whether it's me or anybody in the brokerage industry, will have the same options and rates. But what is important to also think about yes, obviously rate is number one. You don't want a high rate when
Sure.
there's lower rates out there
Mm-hmm.
for sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's number one. But having someone in your corner is a close second.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to, now there's a lot of bank employees that do care, so I'm not going to throw shade on the entire industry,
Sure.
because
Yeah.
there's some people that I know that work in the banking industry who do care just as much as we do.
Yeah.
But they're employees. We run
Mm-hmm.
businesses, so we care more about
Mm.
our clients. We care about not only this transaction, but how's this transaction going to impact you
Mm.
in
Mm-hmm.
3 years? How is it going to impact you in 5 years? Is there a chance that you're going to have to refinance? Are we positioning you with a lender that has lower penalties?
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Maybe the rate's 5 or 10 basis points higher, but are you a habitual spender where you're breaking your mortgage and refinancing? So
Mm.
having somebody who's going to look long term, not short term, and be in your corner and actually care about your situation, is going to set you up for much better success than taking 5 basis points lower of a rate at the bank, because we've been told just the bank, just trust the
Mm-hmm.
bank, just go there and
Mm-hmm.
they'll do right by you.
Yeah, yeah. Because you care so much about your clients and long term, what qualities do you look for in your like referral partners?
Um, I keep everything pretty like narrow. I'm not somebody who's working with 30 different real estate agents, 30 different financial advisors. It's not
Mm-hmm.
how I've built my business, and it's not how I will ever run my business.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that trust and loyalty is super important to me,
Mm-hmm.
um, because there's not a lot of it in this industry,
Yeah.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
when you can find three, four, five people that you can trust with your clients, and they can trust you with their clients,
Yeah.
um, having that trust between a few people that not only do share business, but
Mm-hmm.
you can go and hang out with. You can go to the gym and hang out with them, like beyond work. Not only does that build a good relationship between you and your referral partner, but it also makes a much better um, experience for the client, knowing
Totally.
that this team that you have working for you
Mm-hmm.
is rock solid, that you know that you're being looked after from the time
Yeah.
you get pre-approved to the time you're getting home insurance a couple days before closing. You know that that entire team in between is there and in your corner and all on the same page.
Yeah, yeah. I know it's so important, that trust piece, and to feel like whoever you're working with
Mm-hmm.
will take care of the person with the same level of
Same level.
care.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and that takes a lot of trust.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Yeah. And I think for me, if I think back, that's always been present. Even like back in school, if you had people working on a project with you or something, you know what I mean? Like you want to work with people that care as
Right.
much as you do.
Right. Right.
So, and
That have the
it
same
comes down
goals
to,
and values as you.
yes, yes, totally. Okay. Let's cycle back to the
Yeah.
fitness before we go into the rapid fire. So I'm going to make you pick one fitness activity for the rest of your life. You can have Hyrox, swimming, biking, or running.
It, right now in this moment, it's Hyrox.
Okay.
I am
Okay.
all in on Hyrox.
It's a bit of a cheat because it actually has multi things in it, but
Yeah.
but I'll let you
Yeah.
take it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Very good. All right. Let's go into rapid fire. Morning person or night owl?
I am a morning person.
Okay. If you could teleport anywhere right now, where would you go?
Probably Florida.
Where in Florida? Anywhere in particular?
We spend a lot of time in Orlando.
Hmm. Yeah, let's go. Let's go
Yeah.
right now, especially right now. Yeah.
Especially now. Yeah.
Whew, yeah. What's a book, podcast, or movie you'd recommend to everyone?
Uh, on the fitness side of things, I'm a big Cameron Haynes fan. So his Lift Run Shoot.
Oh, I don't know
podcast.
this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
guests will come on. They'll work out. They'll go for a run up Mount Pisgah, which is in Oregon. Um, and they kind of journey that or film that journey, and then they go and shoot bows. Um, I am also a hunter, so
Mm.
it kind of like combines all of my like current hobbies into one.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then they have a
Very cool.
podcast about um, whatever the guest is on there. So that one kind of is more of a personal side of things. And
Mm-hmm.
then
Yep.
my favorite podcast right now for kind of financial side is called Caleb Hammer,
Mm-hmm.
where he goes through people's financial situations who
Oh,
have run up
okay.
massive debt.
Ah.
It's a little eccentric and over the top, and he cuts into them pretty deep.
Mm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
which they know, like that is the basis of the show, so they know that
Mm-hmm.
they're going to get ripped on a little bit during the show. But
Yeah.
he dives through, their credit card situation and calls them out on
Mm.
things and kind of blows up those excuses that people makes.
Yeah.
And then
Ooh,
he
that sounds good.
it is good,
Uh-huh. Yeah, I'll
very
have to check it out.
entertaining. And then
Mm-hmm.
they make a budget, and he gives them the resources and the courses to you know do what they need to fix their
Oh,
financial
that sounds great.
situation.
I'm gonna check that one out
Yeah.
too. What's a hidden talent or skill that you have that most people may not know about you?
Hidden talent or skill.
It won't be hidden anymore after today.
Yeah. I don't know if I necessarily have any hidden talents or skill. I mean,
Or you're just too humble.
maybe, probably not. Um, yeah, no, not really hidden, but I mean, I'll sign up for races and do pretty limited training and just I call it cowboying. I'll cowboy a race and
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. It's just that you got mental strength.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
afraid to go into dark places in the middle of a race.
Hmm. That's awesome. If you weren't in your current profession, what's a job you'd love to try?
I talked about it a little bit at the start, but I mean, I would still love to get into policing.
Yeah.
At one point in my
Hmm.
life, that's where I thought I would take my career, but you know,
Yeah.
went a completely different direction.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if I could pick one career I could be in, it would be in policing for sure.
Hmm. And what's a motto or mantra that you live by?
Um, this is actually a recent one that I saw in my hours of Instagram reel scrolling. I when I first got into this business, I always struggled with what other people thought of me and how people perceive me. So when I heard this quote, it kind of helped combat that. So it's um, never accept criticism from somebody that you would never take advice from.
Mm. Yeah.
So, I mean, we get wrapped up with how other people view us
Hmm.
when we want to be nothing like those people that
Yeah.
criticize us. So,
Right. Yeah.
why allow that to affect who you are and who you want to become
Hmm. Yeah.
when you don't want to be anything like them?
Why give them that power?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so good. So good. So what is the best place for people to find you, connect with you?
Yeah, on the personal side, like Instagram is
Okay.
is definitely the best.
Okay. I'll put your handle in
Yeah,
the show notes.
yeah.
Okay.
So it's Haskins.Brando, one of my nicknames, Brando,
Ah, okay.
on
Hmm.
Instagram, and then my more educational side of things is Brandon Haskins dot mortgage agent on
Okay.
Instagram.
Okay. So you have a business Instagram and a personal Instagram.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Brandon, this was awesome.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
I absolutely loved the conversation. I have a couple of new podcasts I'm going to check
Yeah,
out.
yeah,
And yeah, loved chatting and, of course, connecting about our shared passion for fitness.
yeah.
But yeah, hearing about how you approach your business and life and all of that, Loved it. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Yes,
Thanks for
thank you for
carving the
having me.
time.
Yeah.
Okay.